ਕਾਫਲਾ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਲਜਿੰਦਰ ਬੜਿੰਗ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਬਿਗਲ ਵੱਜ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੀ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਿਉਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪੀਸੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਡਗਫੋਰਡ ਸਾਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਡਰ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ। ਮੈਜੋਰਟੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਵਜੂਦ ਹਜੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਸਵਾ ਕੁ ਸਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੈਨਿਓਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਵਜੂਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਨੈਪ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਰਵਾਈ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣਾ ਬੜਾ ਪੱਖ ਰੱਖਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਟਰੰਪ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟੈਰਿਫ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਨੈਗੋਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਕੁਅਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਗਾਹਾਂ 4 ਸਾਲ ਹੋਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਾਂ, ਸਾਡੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਰਹੇ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਟਾਈਮ ਟੂ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੈਗੋਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰ ਸਕੀਏ ਟੈਰਿਫ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਜੇ 4 ਸਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨੈਗੋਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਵੇ ਨਾ ਟੈਰਿਫ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਫਿਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਫੇਲੀਅਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਉਸੇ ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਾਈਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈ ਰਿਹਾ। ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਸਵਾ ਸਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਡਗਫੋਰਡ ਕੋਲੇ ਹੈ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿਖਾਉਂਦੇ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਓਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬੜਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਦੇ ਅਗਲੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂਡੇਟ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਪਰ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਕਹਿ ਦੇਣਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਜਿਤਾਓ, ਆਲਮੋਸਟ ਸਵਾ ਸਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਾਰ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਓਨਾ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਕਿ ਡੋਨਲਡ ਟਰੰਪ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਦੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਕੁਐਸਚਨੇਬਲ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਐਜ਼ ਏ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਐਡੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੀ ਰਾਈਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਿੱਧੇ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੈਗੋਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਟ੍ਰੇਡ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਕੱਠਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਮਲਗੋਬਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਰੱਖਤਾ ਤੇ ਲਿਆ ਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਨੈਪ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੜਾ ਕਰਤਾ। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਨੈਪ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਇਹ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਅਨਸ ਨੂੰ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ, ਮੈਨੂੰ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਲਮੋਸਟ $180 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਕਾਸਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਡਿਫਿਕਲਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜੇ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜੇ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚੋਂ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਕੋਈ ਬੜਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਨਾ ਨਿਕਲੇ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਟਰਨ ਆਊਟ ਇੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੋਲਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ 6 ਆਊਟ ਆਫ 10 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਅਨਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਕੱਲਾ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਇਨਫ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਲੀਡਰ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਲੰਡਰ ਮਿਸਟੇਕ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਬਲੰਡਰ ਡਿਸੀਜਨ ਲੈਂਦਾ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਲੈਸਨ ਟੀਚ ਕਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੀਏ ਨਿਕਲ ਕੇ ਤੇ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੀ ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੁ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲੈਸਨ ਸਿਖਾਈਏ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਰਡਨ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਇਕੱਠੀਆਂ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਕੋਈ ਬਾਹਲੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਪਲੱਸ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਦੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ, ਪਬਲਿਕ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੋ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਮੰਗਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਾ ਪਵੇ, ਪਬਲਿਕ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਪਾਵੇ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਓਨੈਸਟ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਓਨੈਸਟ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਦੇ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਵਾਕਿਆ ਹੀ ਫਿਰ ਵਧੀਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹਦੀ ਮਿਸਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਹੈਜ਼ਲ ਮਕੇਲੀਅਨ ਸਾਡੀ ਮਿਸੀਸਾਗਾ ਦੀ ਮੇਅਰ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਆਪਦੀ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਕੀਤੀ, ਨਾ ਹੀ ਕਦੇ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਆਫਿਸ ਖੋਲ੍ਹਿਆ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਮਿਸੀਸਾਗਾ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ। ਜਦੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਆਟੋਮੈਟਿਕਲੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਜਿਤਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ। ਅੱਜ ਇਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਮੱਦੇਨਜ਼ਰ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਸਿੰਘ, ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕੀ ਨੇ, ਕਿਉਂ ਉਹ ਕੰਟੈਸਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਐਂਡ ਇਸ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੀ ਵਿਊ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਇਲੈਕਟ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਈਸਟ ਦੇ ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਣੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਚਰਚਾ ਹੋਏਗੀ। ਲਓ ਫਿਰ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਮਾਰਟਨ, welcome to the show.
Sat Sri Akal, Paji. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, and thank you very much for coming to the show. Sure. And I know this is a very challenging time. It's a snap election.
Yes.
And so once it's been called and you are, you roll your sleeves and you're in it. So first of all, what brings you into this election? at this time?
So what it is, as you know, I've been involved in the community a lot.
Yes.
Most recently, and I guess my most public way that I'm involved with the community is that I'm the commanding officer or rather, I just finished my term as commanding officer back in June for the local Army Cadet Corps. And while we have cadets from all over Brampton, many, or I can even say most of them, come from Brampton East. Okay. So for our viewers who are not familiar with the Army Cadet Corps, in India we call it the NCC.
Yes.
So a lot of people will be more familiar with that one.
That's right.
So it's basically the exact same thing, but the Canadian version.
Okay.
And so I was involved there, and then also too, I ran municipally back in 2018, and you can say half of the ward area that I was covering at that time was in Brampton East. So again, like I have a very solid understanding of the challenges that the people are facing there, the difficulties, that they're going through. And so I said, and also too, under the 7 years that we've had with the Doug Ford government, people's lives have been getting more challenging since then. So I said, I can make this work. I feel that I can offer a good alternative to what they have currently and help improve people's lives.
One thing I know from the very beginning, ever since I've been seeing you, that you are always an NDP candidate, either it's a federal or it's a provincial. Like what actually made you choose NDP platform? Like how you become only an NDP candidate? Like what made you different?
So when we think about the New Democratic Party in Canada and its history, all of the things that it tries to do is to work in favor of people. So when we think about, the really big things, our healthcare system. So if you go to the hospital or if you go to a doctor, for the overwhelming majority of things, you don't need to pay.
Okay.
And that was done by the New Democratic Party. So that was started by Tommy Douglas in the province of Saskatchewan many decades ago. It was a good idea, and it was adopted by all the rest of the country.
Okay.
And there are other pieces too. For example, in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, where they've had a history of NDP governments, we have public auto insurance. We absolutely need that here. And so I understand what we've been able to do in other provinces. We've done it successfully. I'd like to bring it here to the province of Ontario because we know how much of a challenge auto insurance is for the people in Brampton and throughout the entire province. And so you can see where the NDP has done very important and successful things generally, and they also are immediately applicable to what we have happening here today.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this snap election, like overall? Like, you think it was necessary to Ontarians?
The election currently is an absolute tragedy, really, and it's a tragedy on two different levels, maybe even three different levels. First of all, completely unnecessary. And so the second way that it's really, really unfortunate is that now everybody is distracted. We should be focusing on trying to make people's lives better. We should be focusing on, what the potential for tariffs are to come. I mean, they've been delayed, but, the threat is still there. And instead of, working as other governments are doing in the country to try to make everything be as good as it can be, Doug Ford instead throws us into a state of chaos. Now, his argument for this was that he wanted to be able to negotiate well with Donald Trump. But Baji, you and I both saw this past week. It was the Prime Minister and Donald Trump that were doing the negotiating, and neither Doug Ford nor any other premier were anywhere close,
That was going to be my next question, but you already answered it.
Well, so, exactly. And then the final point is cost.
Yes.
$200 million to run this election.
Exactly.
We can't get him to build a hospital here. He said he was going to have shovels in the ground by, 2023. Nothing has happened. We have schools that are crowded here, and we need other investment in our community, and he's taking that $200 and throwing it down the drain, quite frankly.
Coming down to that, usually whenever the election comes, that's when all these issues really start coming forward, especially like a few months before the election when it's a regular time.
Yes.
Now it's a snap election. Obviously, this whole thing start coming together. That, the Brampton got a second hospital. And, Doug Ford is the one who actually granted the full-fledged hospital into a Brampton.
Sure.
And on the day of election call, just day before that, he came to Brampton and said he's bringing LRT tunnel into a downtown Brampton.
Correct.
So you think all these things are really something that he's saying from the heart, or it's just a political views? Like, do you think in Brampton, which already surpasses Mississauga population.
Yes.
Where Mississauga has 4 hospitals already.
Yes.
And Brampton has only 1. And you think that another hospital which hasn't been groundbreaking ceremony done yet,
Yes.
so is really being fairly treated?
So I will say this, Budgie. The best way to judge future behavior is past and present behavior. In the last election, he came to us in Brampton and he said, I will build a hospital. Shovels in the ground by 2023.
Yes.
You and I today, after we're here, we can drive to where it's supposed to happen.
I drove yesterday.
There's nothing happening. Nothing. Zero. And I was there just this past week also, And so now he comes out and he said, oh, wait a second. No, we're going to start in March. But you and I both know nothing's happening in March also, because these promises are just there to, people are desperate. People don't have family doctors here. They're having to wait hours and hours at the emergency center that we have at our current one hospital, William Ossory. And the people there at that hospital, they're trying the very best they can with what they have. But like you said, was it 800,000 people here now? We're a huge city, and we don't have the services. It's just tragically. It's lies upon lies. And when we come back to the LRT, I don't expect him to get that started either. I mean, you think about all the different things. He's talking about the 413. He's talking about a tunnel under all of Toronto. And now he's talking about this. Quite frankly, he doesn't keep his promises. And also, you and I both know, we're both business people.
Yes.
There's only so much money in that pot, and he's choosing to throw it away.
I simply had a question on these two things. First of all, even having one more hospital in Brampton, do you think is sufficient enough for the Bramptonians?
And it's not. But let's try to get that one first. And so what it is, we were very fortunate. 2 days before the election was called, on the Monday, we had Merritt Stiles here in Brampton. And the main point of her visit for us here in Brampton was to have a discussion about the 407 and traffic congestion. But the other thing that we talked about was the importance of having a hospital here. And she's very committed. She's very committed to improving the lives of everybody in Brampton. So much so that even though she came here once already just before the election, she's going to be visiting us again during the election period. And you think, Ontario's a big place. There's only 28 days.
Yes.
And we've had her come, she'll be coming twice during the election. So it shows in her heart that she cares about us, that she wants to make it happen. And we in the Democratic Party are committed to getting, the hospital built. And when we talk about hospitals, when we think about hospitals, we think about in terms of emergency room visits. We think about getting our family and friends the treatment care that they need. But the importance is even beyond that. We have many people in Brampton that don't have a family doctor. Yes, the university's coming, the new medical school's coming.
Yes.
But where are you going to train those doctors?
Exactly.
Once they graduate, they need a hospital to train in. So the hospital, it's not just doing emergency room duty, it's not just doing the secondary care duty. It's actually the place that we need to train the doctors once they come out of medical school, so that they're able to stay here and work and practice in the city to take care of all the population. So it's a huge issue. It's an issue that the Conservatives have promised before. They don't keep their promises, and we need someone that's going to be there to make sure that the promises are kept so our lives get better.
So having said that, on a hospital side, I know Mississauga is a smaller in a population now than Brampton.
Yes.
We call Brampton surpasses Mississauga's population, but unofficially in Brampton, we have over 1 million people living.
Yes.
And because census do different ways, and because all the illegal immigrants, all the students, and we put them all together, we have a population almost about 1 million or plus million people in Brampton. And our infrastructure is not there.
Correct.
For not only for the hospital, even for the public transit, and even for the college, university is not there anyways. So any campus never showed up in Brampton, and every single government always try to bring that issue that a university will be coming or college will be coming, but nothing really came into. The one medical college that came, it was a Brampton Civic Library, that the building has been donated by the city of Brampton to bring that into it. So means some services has been cut to bring another. There's no another land allocated for that.
That's right.
Similarly, province of Ontario have not allocated any other parcel of land for the future hospital or future of any bringing future university or college or even a hospital into Brampton, because you have to think long term.
Correct.
If there is one place in downtown Brampton today to build a hospital, what about in next 15 years? 10
Yeah,
to 15 years.
When
Where
our
you gonna
population is 1.5 million, in fact.
Where would you
yes.
allocate another piece of land like Brampton Civic Hospital that got built? That land was acquired almost 20 years prior to that hospital actually got very first shovel in the ground. Where is the 20 years plan from now onwards? Because Brampton is going to grow. It's always to the boundaries, and the population is growing, and no plans from the government, because anything government brings in, it's always I would say lobbied by their local representatives, MPPs and councillors.
Correct.
One thing I can say clearly on camera, that none of these people really sit on table together. Councillors and MPPs and MPs, they represent the same audience, same people on the ward and constituency, almost similar boundaries. They represent from municipal to the federal, same constituents, but they never sit on table to solve the problems or hear the problems and bring the ideas on the table.
Well, let's investigate that a bit further. So and I think you're quite right. So even before they sit down together, you need your MPP to do any work at all. So the tragedy that we have in Brampton East right now is that we have an invisible Conservative MPP. So don't take my word for it. What it is that we have, for example, the MPP, and we have on the website for the Ontario tracking, it shows how often that they have voted. So there is a Conservative MPP in Brampton who's voted 89 times in the last 2.5 years during the Parliament. The MPP for Brampton East, 5. Only 5 times. And so what it is that he's getting paid over that time period about $250,000, and he voted 5 times. So like I said, Budgie, you and I are businessmen. That's $50,000 a vote.
Exactly.
That's not good, return for the money that's being spent. And so what it is, we need to have someone who's going to represent the people well. And so we're out there on the doorsteps, we're getting their concerns and that sort of thing. I am, very interested in working with our partners out there, because the challenge that we have too is that for the people that come to us with their concerns, they are professional nurses, or they're professional truck drivers, or they're professional carpenters, or whatever their job is, but they're not professional politicians. And we can't expect everybody to be a professional politician. So someone might come to me with an immigration issue. I don't push them away. I know it's federal, and I work with the members of Parliament in order to be able to get their immigration issue, taken care of. Similarly, we were on the doorstep just a couple of days back, and there were some people in a neighborhood in Brampton East who wanted speed bumps put in because there's a children's playground there and they want to slow the traffic. Again, it's not a provincial issue, but we don't push them away. We're like, yeah, we hear you. We know who the councillors are in this area. We'll work with them. If the city can do it by itself, great. If they have the people to build it, but they don't have the finances, come talk to us at the province and we'll see what can be done.
This is where actually, that's why I came, like they never sit on table. We have 3 elections in 3 different years. And every 4 years comes. So means each level of representative comes to their door at least once in almost a year and a quarter.
That's it.
Right? If they don't have time to go tell somebody when we are on the door, either you win or lose, that this is a concern that came to you. That concern is never being expressed to the other parties, other people who are responsible, let's say for the speed bump, it's a municipal thing. But now you heard it. We want to see you actually participating and conveying that message to the council. Either you win or lose, does not matter. Like this is something, this is the concern. If you are really caring of the constituents, then every single of those candidates should be bringing those issues together and filtering it, which is provincial, which is municipal, which is federal. And conveying those message to those representatives. So let's work together, put it together, and so we can bring people, having people a better life. This is where every single candidate is failing. They are never communicating with one another. It's
an unfortunate reality that we don't have folks working together as they should. I can share with you, through our show here today, that I'm fully committed to working with our, member of parliament. I'm fully committed to working with Patrick Brown to get the things done for the city of Brampton. I mean, it makes sense. Like, our job is to make people's lives better, not to create unnecessary barriers between levels of government. And so I think also too that, as much as I speak for myself, I think the New Democratic Party is generally interested in working with folks, with all the different levels of government to improve people's lives. Because what it is that, we talk about making investment for schools, but the province doesn't necessarily allocate the money for the school. It might be the city that gives us a helping hand with that, or it might be the federal government that comes forward with the property for that.
There's another funny thing out of this. I usually see that according to inflation, we have average about 2% inflation every year. It goes up.
That's
every
right.
year.
Yes.
But government funding for schools and colleges and for the universities staying at the same amount.
Yeah.
It means every year the funding is deflating 2%.
That's it. It's falling behind.
Right? Falling behind. It means inflation is there, but the funding is not matching the inflation.
Correct.
And they keep saying, we never cut the funding, but cut is 2% every year.
Yeah.
Because you are not matching that with the inflation. So this is where people don't ask questions to their representatives. Because their representatives are, number one, never knew those issues. They don't give a damn about it.
Yes.
And we need people to ask these questions when they come to the door or when they are in the office. And actually, I posted something yesterday, people who know don't speak. People who speak don't know.
Okay.
And that makes a difference. That's why we are not to the par where we're supposed to be.
Correct.
And we know that Martin Singh is well vocal, have the knowledge, because his background is from the medical.
Yes.
He's a pharmacist himself.
Yes.
And always contributes. The beautiful thing that about you, that you are non-Punjabi born.
Okay.
And you are a Khalsa.
Okay, thank you.
So this is what we were talking prior to the show as well.
Yes.
And this is something that I have seen, like any of the Punjabi, like I'm Punjabi, I'm Sikh, but I'm not a Khalsa.
Okay.
Because when non-Punjabi born person becomes Sikh, he don't just become Sikh.
Yes.
He become complete Khalsa.
I would say it often happens, yes.
Often happens.
Yes.
I've seen like all these people, like I never seen them have a trim beard and just have a turban, but they are not Amritdhari Singh. But
Correct.
they call them a Sikh.
Correct.
But we as a Sikh, we call, but we are not up to that level.
Okay.
But this is something that, what convinced you to become a Khalsa?
Well, so so on a personal level now,
Yes.
so we're delving into my history, and I'm completely comfortable with that. It's important that people know where I come from. So I come from Nova Scotia, and my phone has turned off, but it keeps ringing in the middle of the show. I do apologize, Paji. I don't know why that's happening. But what it is that I come from Nova Scotia, and my family's been in Canada for a very long time. So my family first arrived in Canada in 1782, and we're from traditionally a Christian background.
Okay.
But it didn't align with me personally, meaning that I felt that I was thinking something differently. So this is back in the 1980s. So like I was just a young fella, and most people in the rural village where I live were thinking about cars and hunting and that sort of thing. I was thinking about politics and religion. So it made me a little bit different, but that's okay, and then so I started investigating things, and it was much harder then. There was no internet then that existed for us. So, I'm going to my local library and I'm reading about different things, and I searched out a number of different religions, and I don't really say that one's better than the other, or one is good or one is bad. That's not the investigation that I was doing.
It's on your own personal.
It was like what aligns with me, like who am I as a person?
Yes.
And at first I didn't find anything that really aligned with me, so I left it, and I stopped. And then I was actually out in Calgary at a political convention, and I met some Sikh people there, and they said, you have really interesting questions about Sikhi and that sort of thing. If you are still interested when you get back to home to Nova Scotia, contact us. And so what happened out of that is that they sent me a box of books. So about 50% of the books were on Sikhi from a historical perspective. Another 50% of the books were on Sikhi from a theological perspective. And then there were 2 books actually that had nothing to do with Sikhi, but it was about the geopolitical history of Punjab.
Okay.
And that was very important because I didn't know at the time, but what I know now is that the geopolitical history of Punjab and how Sikhi evolved are very much interconnected. So it gave me a very, solid and comprehensive understanding. And the light went on. I was like, I'm ready to do like this. I found what I was looking for, but still, I was all alone. Okay. There was no really sick people in my village. There was a few, at the Maritime Sikh Society, Gurdwara and Halifax, but I didn't know anything about them. And so I just kind of sat on it for a year or two. And then I had a realization one night that, there will come a time for all of us at the end of our days when we will stand, before Vaheguruji and we will go through judgment, as it were. And I said to myself, I couldn't take it. Like, I was fortunate enough in my life to find the path that I wanted. I must be brave enough to follow. Okay. And so that's when I became a Sikh, and I learned a bit more. And it was about maybe 4 or 5 years after that I took Amrit, and that was actually, I went back to Calgary where I first learned about Sikhi. I took Amrit in Martindale Gurdwara there in that's it. Yes, you're familiar with Calgary.
I lived there. Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay, excellent. So yeah, up in the northeast by the airport.
Yes.
And then we my wife and I, when we got married, we took Amrit again together at a Kaltakat in Amritsar.
Amritsar, Punjab. Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's the background of my path.
No, definitely. And now we have very few days left. A few weeks actually.
Yeah.
Left for the election day, because this is February 27th.
Correct.
So what is your commitment to Brampton East? If you win election, like, what are your commitment to Brampton East? What brings you into this, and how do you put yourself in front of the public?
Okay. Part of it you mentioned already. I have a solid background in healthcare. Clearly, I'm working on that hospital. The hospital is not in Brampton East, but the hospital will help service everybody and help take care of us. In addition, it has the secondary positive effect of allowing us to make sure that we get the family doctors there. The New Democratic Party has committed recently to say we're going to add 3,500 family doctors in the province of Ontario. We want to make sure that we have the hospital in Brampton so we can train them here, because we know where they train, they're likely to stay, and that would be absolutely fantastic. In addition to that, I'm inviting all of the residents to Brampton East to contact us now. People ask me, well, Martin, what are you going to do in the first 30 days? What are you going to do in the first 100 days? Don't wait for those first 30 days, Baji.
That's right.
Talk to me now.
Exactly.
Talk to me now, so that when I do get elected on February 27th, I'm able to immediately start and be ready with the answers to some of the questions that they've come to us today, tomorrow, and the next day, so that we can start making our lives better as quickly as we can. And then the next piece that we have, it's on education. We have 4 points for education. I don't need to tell you, Baji, you drive by a school, it's all full of portables and everything.
Exactly.
We need money for the infrastructure, money for the staff. Many people in our riding and in the Brampton generally are having difficulty feeding their children, which is absolutely tragic. So the NDP is getting funding for that. And then we have a number of children who are special needs. And we want to make sure that every child has an equal opportunity to succeed at school. Those 4 areas we're investing in. It will be a fantastic opportunity for Brampton East to make that happen when the NDP forms government on February 27th.
Wonderful, Martin. ਸੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਦੀ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੁਣ ਲਈ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਸੁਣ ਲਈ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕੀ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਰਟਿਸਿਪੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਡੋਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਰੋ। ਜੇ ਉਹ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਦੇਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕੁਈਨਸ ਪਾਰਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬੋਲ ਸਕਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ। ਸੈਕੰਡਲੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਮਾਰਕਸ਼ੀਟ ਪਈ ਆ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਇੱਕ MPP ਦੀ, ਕਿ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਪਿਛਲੇ 2.5 ਸਾਲ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਦੀ ਥਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ MPP ਸੀ ਉਹਦੀ ਵੀ ਮਾਰਕਸ਼ੀਟ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੂਹਰੇ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨੇ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਟਾਈਮ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ। ਅਸੀਂ ਯੂਜ਼ਲੀ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਵੇਵ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਜਿੱਤ ਜਾਂਦਾ। 2018 ਤੇ 2022 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ontario ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਵੇਵ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ MPP NDP ਦੇ ਵੀ ਨੇ, ਕੁਝ MPP ਲਿਬਰਲ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਨੇ। ਕਿਉਂ ਨੇ? ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਦਿਖਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਦੇ ਏਰੀਏ ਦੇ, ਆਪਦੇ ਕੰਸਟੀਚੁਐਂਸੀ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕੀਤਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਡੈਮੋਸਟ੍ਰੇਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਬੈਟਰ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਹਾਂ ਦੈਨ ਵੇਵ। ਸੋ ਹਵਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪੋਜ਼ਿਟ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਹੀ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਨੇ ਉਹੀ ਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਸੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਵੇਵ ਕਿਹਦੀ ਆ, ਇਹ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਬੰਦਾ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਸਹੀ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦੱਸਤੀ ਆ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਉਹ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਪਰ ਹੈ ਪਿਓਰ ਸਿੱਖ ਨੇ, ਖਾਲਸਾ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਿਓ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਆਫਿਸ ਤੱਕ ਅਪਰੋਚ ਕਰੋ, ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰੋ, ਆਪਣੇ ਕੰਸਰਨ ਜ਼ਾਹਿਰ ਕਰੋ। ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਆਫਿਸ ਤੇ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਕਹੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਖਰੇ ਉਤਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਫਿਰ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਓ। ਅਦਰਵਾਈਜ਼ ਚੋਇਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਹੱਥ 'ਚ ਆ, ਪਰ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਾਇਓ। ਮਾਰਟਨ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ so much for coming to the studio and giving your information. You
Yes.
can at the end just convey your message to the listeners, like why they should vote for you.
Excellent. So I'm going to build off what you said before and what we talked about. I don't want people to wait. I want people to come right now and engage with us. Our campaign office is located at 4515 Ebenezer Road. It's in the same plaza as the Ebenezer Kafilatvhd, and we are in Suite 208. We welcome everyone to come by and engage with us so we can start working for them immediately. We will not wait until February 27th. We'll start working for them absolutely right now. And also too, what we're doing, if you see us out in the community, please feel free to engage with us also. Yesterday morning, we were at Red Willow Public School and also Walnut Grove Public School, talking with parents as they were bringing their children to school and after they dropped them off about the challenges that they're having personally with education. We are listening to each and every single person. We're going to work with all levels of government that we had spoken about earlier to make sure we find the solutions that we need to improve the lives of the people in Brampton East.
There you go. So Martin Singh, don't forget to vote on 27. There will be a dates for the advance polls as well. So keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on each and every candidate who comes to your door. So do participate in this election and teach a lesson to the people who bring us to the knees to bring it to the elections like this. And so we need honest and transparent candidates in our to represent us. So thank you once again, Martin. Thank you.
Baji, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sat Sri Akal.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ। ਫਿਰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।